Hello, we're on page 22 of our Outcome 6 Part 2 packet, talking about how to graph reciprocal functions. So yesterday we said to start with finding your asymptotes, which are the lines that the two pieces of your graph can never cross. The first one we find by looking at the denominator. This is x plus 1. Everything next to an x is always opposite. So I know one of my asymptotes will be x equals -1. The other asymptote we get from looking right after the fraction. In this case, there's no number, so I could add on a +0. Adding 0 does not change anything, so anytime you don't have a number there, you can always put a 0. That means that my other asymptote will be at y equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and graph those now. If my asymptote is at x equals -1, I know it needs to cross the x-axis at -1, so I'll put my vertical dashed line there. And at y equals 0 means it will cross the y-axis at 0, so it is pretty much your x-axis. Now that I have my asymptotes drawn in, I can look at this top number to figure out my points. -3 is like having a -3/1. So when I start at this new intersection point, I will go down 3 and right 1 to put my point. From here I can draw in our curve. We need to make sure that our curve gets close to those dashed lines, but does not cross the dashed lines. I will also need to go the opposite way now. So instead of going down 3, I will go up 3 and left 1. Again, I can draw in my curve, making sure it's getting close to the asymptotes, but never quite crossing. Your domain, like we said yesterday, will always start with all real numbers, but there is a restriction here at this vertical asymptote. So I need to say that x cannot be equal to -1. My range is again all real numbers, but there is a restriction at this horizontal asymptote, so I need to say y cannot equal 0. My transformations, starting at 0, 0, I had to go left 1 to get to the x, so I'll include the left 1. My y was at 0, so I did not move up or down. My slope was a -3. The negative tells me that there was a reflection. And the 3 tells me there was a vertical expansion by 3. Go ahead and pause your video right now and try number 1 right below it. Unpause the video when you're done and you can check your answer. Alright, here is the answer to number 1. Be careful, in the denominator it was just an x, so you'll have to add in an x plus 0, similarly to that last example we saw, which then gives you your asymptote at x equals 0, and the y equals -2 is coming from that -2 on the end. Notice that I did not put a vertical expansion by 1. If the number in the numerator is a 1, you do not need to specify that there was a vertical expansion. Alright, let's turn over and look at page 23. Okay, there's one other type of problem that we want to talk about. In this case, they are not going to give us the function. Instead, they're going to tell us characteristics, and it is our job to graph it. So the first thing that I see is the graph needs to have a vertical asymptote at x equals 2. So that means it needs to cross the x-axis at 2. So I'll go over to 2 and put my vertical asymptote. I'm done with that piece. Vertical expansion of 3 means that the number on the top of our fraction should be a 3, or my slope is a 3/1. I can't include that in part of my graph until I have both asymptotes drawn in. So I'm going to skip that second one. The third one says that I need to move down 4. So starting at 0, 0, I'll go down 4 and put a horizontal asymptote. Once I have both of those in, I can now go back and include my vertical expansion. So starting at this new intersection point, I'll go up 3, right 1 for my dot, and fill in my curve. We also have to go opposite, so I'll start at the starting point. I'm now going down 3 and left 1 for my dot, and then filling in the curve. Okay, we'll do one more together. This one says I need a horizontal asymptote at y equals -5. So I should cross the y-axis at -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I put in my dashed line. It's on there. Again, reflection is referring to the numerator, the top number, which I can't do until I have both asymptotes, so I skip it. I also need to move left 2. So starting at 0, 0, I'll go left 2 and put my dashed line. Okay, if it only says there's a reflection, it means my slope or top number should be -1, and you can put that over 1 if you like to have them as a fraction. So starting at this intersection point, I should go down 1 and right 1, and then I can fill in my curve. Opposite is up 1 and left 1. Fill in your curve. Go ahead and pause your video and try number 2. Once you're finished, you can unpause to see the answer. Here is the answer to number 2. You should have your vertical asymptote at 7, horizontal asymptote at -1, and then combining the reflection and vertical expansion gives us a slope or a top number of -2. So we're going down 2 and right 1. For homework, I would like you guys to do page 25 through 26. Page 25 through 26 is for homework. You can check your answers on Canvas. Thank you.